The war, mere centuries old, feels eternal. The lives of millions have ended, and the souls of millions more have been damned to hell. At points, the world felt like it would tip upon its axis and tilt into endless madness, only to be pulled back from the brink. While the faithful have always found a way to beat back the forces of hell, and have found ingenuity and courage beyond imagining in their efforts to fight in Christ's name, the legions of the damned have also embraced a terrifying new age. Deep in the bowels of hell, some of the greatest minds in history, turned from the light of heaven and forever locked away in service of the demonic, carry out their terrible work. It is in these cursed labs and chambers, hidden away from prying eyes, protected at all costs by creatures so foul that their countenance does not bear imagining, that the technomancers go about their damnable research. In need of a new method of fighting the war after being thwarted in endless pitched battles, no matter how many troops, damned and demonic, they threw into the meat grinder, the demon princes realized that they needed change. It was this need to adapt to the trivial yet harsh brutalities of war on Earth that led to the formation of the Technomancer schools and the terrifying depravity of the Cadaver Corps. In need of a shock trooper that could be deployed in the harshest of environments, behind enemy lines, and with practically nothing in the way of support, the fiendish minds of hell developed the Cadaver Corps, a solution that was more mechanical than biological. These beings were once flesh, but have since had their bodies replaced with complex amalgamations of pistons and gears, steamworks and hydraulics. Infernal components in impossible to understand matrices replaced their organs. Yet, somewhere inside it all, worked deep into the metal like the very heat used to forge it, is a human soul. The mechanical soldiers of the Cadaver Corps that form its fighting elite are invaluable due to their absolute independence from the logistical nightmare that typically accompanies any army. There is no need for food, nor rest. They do not make camp unless under extremely specific circumstances. They need no heat in the coldest of climates, nor water in the deepest of deserts. Instead, they act as brutal scavengers, descending on enemies and innocents alike, taking only what they need in the form of ammunition and weapons, destroying the rest. They leave behind nothing but a trail of murder and ruin, endlessly moving on to the next target of their master's designs. Units and squads are typically formed with a singular purpose in mind that they will then chase relentlessly under the command of their leaders and a technomancer. Whether capturing vital oil fields in the deserts of Africa, the never-ending pursuit of Mecca, or a lightning-fast interception of important faithful forces or supplies, the Cadaver Corps travels light and fast. Their every consideration is designed to allow them the perfect combination of speed and brute force. Despite this, the Corps cannot truly escape the weakness of the flesh, as each one is reliant on a human soul for its eventual ascension to the true gift of artificiality, and the technomancers need a supply of the willing in order to experiment on. Many members of the damned wish to join the ranks of the Corps for reasons of their own. Some seek an end to flesh, the allure of cold, bright steel being an obliteration of feeling. No pain, no pleasure, just an endless void in which to be free of their own damnation. Others despise creation to such a degree that they wish to extract themselves from it, convinced that the cold mechanical nature of their new existence will finally free them from their torment and act as the ultimate insult to the Creator. Some of them are just insane, driven to madness by all that they have seen, done, and endured. They are largely despised by the rest of the Corps and treated as little more than dirt by the technomancers, who see them as a mocking reminder that, for all their ingenuity and skill, they cannot create life, not true life. They can fashion a form from ore and crystal, and they can infuse the essence of a human into it, but at every step, they work with the very materials provided by the Creator they claim to despise. All of them long for the artificial rebirth for reasons they may not even know themselves, and the technomancers are happy to harvest their desperate hope at something better than their current meager existence. The Corps carries no supplies for these lost and abused supplicants. Instead, these still human members of the Corps must scavenge food from the defeated, and when that food is not present, they must resort to cannibalism to ensure their survival. Be the body friend or foe, it is butchered and devoured, the survivors eager to eat the essence of the fallen and add that strength to their own. When not in battle, they service the members of the Corps who have already achieved artificial rebirth, ensuring smooth function under the watchful eyes of their betters. Their every action is designed to invite favor from the technomancers as they beg for the slowly mounting gifts of artificiality. As long as their deeds in battle are impactful enough, lost limbs can be replaced. The technomancers are always seeking means to try new iterations of their designs, and these misbegotten creatures give them ample opportunity to test both process and prosthetic. In this way, only the loyalist, the strongest in spirit, and the most willing to sacrifice ever receive the gift of full artificiality. They become more than human, ascending above their weaknesses and flaws, and they exist only to act as the living will of the technomancers who inured them against the excruciating pain of their existence. Through the continued iteration and perfection of the Cadaver Corps, Hell has introduced a new era of fear to the hearts of men. They are no more creeping battle lines and shifting fronts to offer the illusion of safety. The border of the fiendish and the faithful no longer swell and buckle over time as a means of gauging when it is time to grab what you can and run. Instead, the twisted shadow of the damned may already be falling across everything you hold dear. Responsible for making and maintaining the artificial life forms, technomancers seldom have reason to leave the safety and discomfort of Hell. However, some particularly ambitious, brave, and arrogant technomancers create a Cadaver Corps warband to gather some particular resource, test a new model of their creation, or simply to prove a point to their colleagues with whom they endlessly bicker and politic. If every denizen of Hell is guilty of just one sin, then technomancers can truly be considered prideful. Dedicating themselves to a field of study so obscure that even the longest-lived demons balk at the idea of spending such time in the lab, they obsess over the smallest details, attempting to achieve via artificial means what the hated creator did with his dreaded will. They seek to pit themselves against the very being who brought the universe into existence, such is their arrogance. Technomancers revel in clockwork, metallurgy, the science of hydraulics, chemistry, biology, and complex magic that hold and contain the essences of intelligence, emotion, and the soul. Through gross manipulations of all three, they become their own greatest experiments, their egos driving them to turn their intrigue to their own hellish functions. Slowly, they carve away the meat of themselves, replacing it with complex machinery, housing delicate and intricate systems, magical ruins, and forbidden combinations of herbs, minerals, and liquids sourced from both Hell and Earth. All technomancers long to create and perfect the next great innovation that allows the forces of Hell to take yet more territory from the armies of man. To this end, they are willing to sacrifice anything they need to in order to get one step closer to realizing their next terrible creation. And it is said that the Lords of Hell constantly vie for the favor of the technomancers in order to win them to their cause. The problem is once again that terrible pride, as technomancers see themselves as subservient to no one, and their schools are dominated with fierce infighting. Technomancers has even been known to play complex games of cat and mouse when operating in the same theater of war, laying intricate traps and weaving complex webs of lies in an attempt to get each other killed. Without access to more refined materials provided by Hell, Phosphor witches are built using the very best of what is scavenged by the Corps. Because their dimensional abilities are limited, improvised explosives filled with fuel and other flammable substances scavenged from the enemy lines are made for them back at camp. With a simple gesture, they summon these devices, or simply something flammable within their line of sight, infuse it with some of their own personal phosphorus, and hurl the resulting vicious conflagration, showering the area in a chemical fire. Phosphor witches are made for a very specific reason: rage. The last thing a warband of the Cadaver Corps wants to do is destroy the very people and supplies they rely on to continue their breakneck advance towards their final objective. But the egos of the technomancers can be fragile things. If a fortress proves too impregnable, if their losses are beginning to become unacceptable, if someone insults their choice of filigree on their creations, a phosphor witch may be created. Whatever the cause, the ire of those who lead the Cadaver Corps is raised. The phosphor witches will be unleashed and left uncontrolled and free to live up to their purpose. The result is catastrophic. Towering, heaving columns of searing white flame roar as they claw towards the sky. Heat so swelteringly intense that even the sand beneath the inferno begins to melt and burn to glass. The motionless silhouettes of the witches are the only motes of darkness serenely standing in front of the unstoppable, unquenchable destruction that they have been created to enact. The flames only burn themselves out when there is no fuel left to consume, and by then, the Cadaver Corps are long gone. They have no reason to loiter if there's nothing to loot from the area. All that is left is the ashen remains of whatever was there before, sulfuric petals drifting off glassed earth. About as related to its namesake as its lupin cousin, the war hyena is the result of a similar process applied with far fewer resources and often scavenged parts. The war in Africa has been particularly brutal for all sides, and the Cadaver Corps of Hell suffered losses much greater than most due to their distance from supply lines. The war hyena is a twofold answer to the needs of the invading forces of Hell. First, the technomancers have access to a ready supply of local wildlife to use in their experiments, and second, the terrifying laugh of the hyena and the effect that it had on prisoners of war has proven to be of great use to the Corps when it comes to the psychological side of warfare. The technomancers noticed that staked out prisoners who were being interrogated would break quickly if the hyenas were allowed to come close, making them the perfect basis for experimental iteration and eventual perfection. It was quickly noted that war hyenas had an advanced level of cunning and excellent cooperative skills, and would quickly become dangerous even to their handlers if packs were allowed to grow too large. As such, it has been decided that it is much safer to limit them to groups of 2 outside of large-scale battles, where natural culling will occur through the attrition of the conflict itself. Any more than this, and the strange metaphysical yearning that seems to be a result of the creation process, leads to the war hyenas assigning a designated pack leader. What their aims are beyond that have not yet been discovered, as the technomancers ensured the eradication of any such packs well before the beasts established a more advanced social structure.